Carmy Berzatto holds a contradiction that doesn't resolve through any read currently available to you. The question his behavior keeps asking is the same you have been pushing down about your own life. How does the same person operate with surgical precision in one room and total structural collapse in the next? Same day, same nervous system, same level of exhaustion, same level of effort, same of everything you can name. Carmy has worked in kitchens of the highest level, the top of the top in the industry, and yet he cannot make it through a simple dinner with the people who actually, or let's say supposedly, love him. He commits to building something with someone. He really, truly means it. And within days, he's watching himself breaking the whole thing from the inside. Across the first two seasons of the show, every standard read of this pattern, character, discipline, motivation, trauma, registers part of what's happening and misses exactly where it's coming from. Character doesn't explain it, it just doesn't. Because character doesn't account for how the same person produces mastery in one domain and absolute debris in another with zero warning between them. Discipline doesn't explain it either. Carmy is, arguably, in his own words, a psycho inside his career. However, the cycle keeps running anyway. And trauma. Everyone points to the trauma. Look, the trauma Carmy carries is the foundation. It's the concrete. The thing that fuels everything he does. But this cycle you will learn today is what's running on top of that foundation on any given Tuesday. So we have two competing mandates running through the same person. Both carry real authority. Both register as the obvious, necessary next move the moment they show up. They generate contradictory outputs from the same architecture. In that architecture, it is functioning exactly as it was designed to. And Carmy walks through that pattern with enough resolution to finally make the mechanism readable. The lens everyone has been using to make sense of him is the same lens that has been keeping you stuck inside the same cycle in your own life. Every department in the system is following its orders to the letter. The result is a person who cannot stop undoing the thing they just committed to. Picture a government that changes and the handover isn't clean. Every department in the building wakes up to the same morning. A new administration takes office. It sends a directive to every department about the new priorities and directions, signed and delivered through the proper channels. The directive is legitimate, and the authority behind it is real. But every department that receives it already has a full set of standing orders from the administration that built it. Those orders are not rogue. They were not smuggled in. They were the official policy for years, sometimes decades, and everything about the way that department operates was shaped around them. Well, not just shaped by it, it was hardwired. The workflows, the defaults, the way the building runs when nobody is actively directing it. Those orders are also legitimate. The authority behind them was real when it was installed, and the system still answers to it. The momentum is too big to simply ignore them. A department head sits down on a Monday morning with two sets of orders on the same desk, the legacy one and the new one, both properly signed, both delivered to the chain of command, both pointing in different directions for the same territory. The department doesn't have a loyalty problem. It doesn't have a competence problem. It has two authorities governing the same ground, and the building was built to serve both of them. What happens next is not sabotage and not confusion. The department executes both. It runs the new directive through the old machinery and produces outputs that honor both sets of orders at once. The same department, on the same day, generates a result that moves toward the new direction and a result that protects the old one. And that changes everything. Now, look closer at the signature. You commit to a direction. Within days, you are taking the actions that take it apart, not as a loss of interest, but as a genuine reversal that carries the same weight the commitment did. It's the way we have an interior, a private self that is inaccessible even to our own conscious logic, but also a public set of behaviors that seems available to everyone except ourselves. Both directions feel like you, because both directions are you, moving through the same system, arriving through the same channels, and the person holding both cannot tell which set of orders commanded which move. That is the trap. Watch the next three scenes, and don't look for separate breakdowns. Look for the signature. And the tell is which set of orders got the moment first. The new directive doesn't get tested in the abstract. It is not a boardroom theory or a thought experiment. It gets tested the first time it has to pass through a relationship where the old orders are already installed. For Carmy, that relationship is clear. And the thing to watch here isn't what he says to her, it's what he does. Carmy has plans with Claire. They start with a chore, dropping an envelope at the post office. It turns into a day that neither of them planned. They are sitting in the car afterward. There's that specific, still car air silence. Claire tells him she sat behind him in freshman algebra. She used to watch him drawing in his notebook, trying to guess the shapes. Carmy admits it was a menswear idea, short tailored pants. He found out later someone else had already been doing it. His big design was not as original as he had thought. It was just a guy drawing pants.
I wish I knew that then.
I wish you'd talk to me more.
I tried. You're really shy.
Look at what she really means. She is pointing to a structural wall. Not literally, of course. They were in the same room for a year. They spent a lot of time together inside and outside the school, and he never let her see where his eyes were, where his mind was. She wanted in. He never gave her the opening. Claire takes him to a party. Carmy actually, miraculously, blends in. He jokes around. He is taking part in Claire's world. And later, when they are alone, she asks him why he gave her a fake number. This happened early in the season when they re-encountered each other. He doesn't really answer the question explicitly. Instead, he says,
Why'd you give me a fake number?
I like you so much. And, I feel like I missed a lot.
it's a verbal confession. It's real, and it matters. And knowing Carmy, it took a lot from him to say it. But it isn't the commitment the episode is building toward, and the one that Claire wants. Shortly after, they are standing outside her car after the party gets broken up. Carmy invites Claire to come see the restaurant. This is what's important here, not the confession, not the I like you so much. This is Carmy taking Claire to the place where his attention actually lives. Literally, his entire life was built inside that domain. He did it on his initiative, for the first time in their whole story. To this point, Claire has been doing the social lifting all day. The party was her world, and the restaurant is his, and he's the one who brings her there. They end up at the restaurant. It's late. They get there just to find the staff in the middle of an argument. As always, Carmy sends everyone home. Once they are alone, he walks Claire through the green tape on the floor. He explains the stations, the flow, the logic. Maybe she doesn't follow the kitchen math, but she doesn't need to. The content isn't the point. The act of explaining is the meaning of letting someone in.
It's not like that here.
Kind of seems like it is. What's, with all the green?
Oh, it's gonna go. This is, Expo over here. And then right by you here, we have the, oven, stovetop.
He's making her part of his life as chaotic as is, while it's still ugly, unfinished, and with no guarantee of working out. The smile on Claire's face and the kiss at the end is all you need to see to understand what Claire meant at the beginning of the episode. Now, look at the signature. This is not a rom-com beat. It's a change in governance. Anyone can say the words. Any idiot can whisper, I like you while being alone. But bringing someone inside your world on your own initiative, that's a new set of orders, especially in the context of Carmy being who he is. The department received the directive. The commitment is structural, not just spoken. And that architecture is exactly what will get revoked. Think about your own life. There was something you were building. At some point, You brought someone inside it while it was still in progress. You show them where your attention goes when nobody is asking. You can feel that specific memory in your chest right now. You let them stand there with you even when your whole body was screaming you not to. But if you already know exactly what happened to that openness within 3 weeks, the way you systematically dismantled that bridge until they were back on the outside, that is the signature. That's the department following the old orders to tear down the new ones before they have the chance to gain momentum. That reversal, the one where the commitment was real and the undoing was equally real, is not a mystery. It isn't a personality flaw, and it certainly isn't a lack of character. It is a specific condition with a specific mechanism underneath it. Every standard explanation falls short because every standard explanation is looking at the wrong level. This is Axiom 11 of 75 that I have systematized from philosophy, neuroscience, and pattern analysis. I call it the anomie, the condition where a genuine new conviction runs into infrastructure that was never built to hold it. Its role is diagnostic. It's a way to tell which ghost is currently driving the car. And the diagnostic does specific work. This cycle stops being evidence about who you are and starts being information about which set of orders caught the last event. That shift from reading the pattern as character to reading it as architecture is the entire move this axiom opens. When two directions are running through the same person, both carrying real authority, the one that governs your behavior in any given moment is not the one you choose. It is the one that caught the event first. The chain is mechanical and runs like this. An event shows up. It could be a phone call, a difficult question. One of the two directions catches it before the other does. The direction that catches it assigns meaning to that event. The meaning carries an emotional charge, and the charge generates a pull toward a behavior that arrives already feeling like the obvious move. The only move. The thing anyone in your position will do. The entire loop, event, meaning, charge, pull, completes before conscious thought can even clear its throat. This is why the behavior feels like personality rather than policy, and it can flip flop instantly and for several times in a matter of seconds. The old direction has a structural advantage that you cannot close by effort alone. It runs through infrastructure shaped by years of repetition, the defaults, the reflexes, the way you process a sideways glance from a stranger, the way you were taught was the correct way. Those grooves are worn deep into the floorboards. The new direction is trying to run through those same channels, but the pipes aren't the right size. Every order it sends has to pass through filters designed to serve the old one, carrying an emotional weight the system hasn't learned how to amplify yet. And the person experiencing both cannot tell which direction generated the behavior they just executed, because both feel equally like their own conscious decision. When these contradictory behaviors appeared, people will tell you that the commitment wasn't real. They will say that if you keep walking it back, you must not have wanted it enough in the first place. It is simple, right? If you didn't follow through, it's because you lack commitment. They are wrong. It is not about how much you want it. It's about which set of orders hit the desk first. Then the hustle guys come rambling about discipline. The idea that you just need to try harder. But discipline doesn't help when the conflict is structural. You are not failing to commit. You are committing to two different lives simultaneously, in different rooms, on the same day, at the same time, even. The winner is decided by speed, not by effort. So, if this mechanic operates the way the framework claims, two directions, same architecture, contradictory outputs depending on which one catches the moment. What do you think happens when that person walks out of a morning where the new direction felt clear and into an afternoon where someone asks him to name that commitment out loud? The scene opens the morning of season 2, episode 8. Carmy is in his apartment kitchen at the counter near the sink, sitting down, in visible distress. Claire just got out of bed and she's walking towards him, wearing one of his t-shirts. She asks what's happening today, what's coming up. He tells her about the night exam, the fire suppression certification the restaurant has to pass to open. As expected, she doesn't know what that is. And like the algebra classes years ago, she's making a real, manual effort to get involved. He starts to explain the exam, then stops and looks at her.
I'm really sorry. I just,
Never, ever apologize.
I just want you to know that this is really nice. So nice that
You're waiting for the other shoe.
She finishes his sentence in his own voice, then refuses to let him land it the way he was about to. The morning ends pretty well after that. He explains the exam in a more uplifted mood. Still asks if he's worrying her. She says no, and he tells her she is beautiful and kisses her. Let's make a quick pause here. What you just watched was a department running a new directive cleanly, while another department's standing order tried to override it before it could land. This sentence Carmy was about to finish was going somewhere specific. The old direction was trying to attach a rod to the good thing. Could have been so nice that it cannot last. So nice, I am waiting for the punch in the face. Or any of the dozens of variations of that sentence the system runs by default. The new direction was alive, but the old one was trying to write a bad ending in real time. It survived because the intervention wasn't naive. The night before, after a panic attack, Carmy had told Claire the whole fish's story, the whole dysfunctional family story. She had the data on his foundation by the time this exchange started. And she finished this sentence the way the new direction needed it to finish. That's the conviction half of the cycle, holding under life pressure. A few hours later, he's at the restaurant, working through the menu with Sydney. He mentions, in passing, that Claire helped him realize he was clinging to things he didn't care about anymore. Sydney goes quiet, then passive aggressive. He notices the attitude and asks what's going on.
I didn't know that we were like running our menu by Claire.
We're not running the menu by
Should I
Claire.
ask to send my revised cogs to your girlfriend?
You don't need to send anything to... She's not my girlfriend.
So
You can
she's
send her
not
anything.
even your girlfriend.
This is the same person who spent the night with her, who kissed her in the morning, who trusts her enough to tell her one of his most personal stories. Hours later, to a friend asking a simple factual question about who he is in his life, he says she isn't. They argue a bit more, calm down, apologize, and then
I just think you need to decide.
What do you mean? What do I need to decide?
I mean, many things, but chief among them might be if this person is your girlfriend or your friend that's a girl.
Sydney has just handed him the desk. She is trying to help him realize the contradictory directions. He has a chance, right here, to put the name to what he is doing. All he has to do is root it.
I'm being shitty?
I mean, not great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to be shitty.
He stammers his way around the noun. 3 I don'ts before he gets near the verb. The noun he finally reaches is shitty. 2 mandates are running through the same person on the same day. This is not a reversal. Because a reversal is when you withdraw something you extended. And he hasn't withdrawn anything. Claire is still literally his girlfriend. What's missing is the capacity to name the thing out loud in front of someone who is not already inside it. To name her would require the new direction to clear the chain first. And on that desk, in that hour, in that specific moment, the old orders had the faster processor. In the morning, the architecture was perfect. It was supposed to be perfect, and the old directions tried to attach doom to it. And in the afternoon, the architecture is still standing, and the old governs what he can name on top of it. Bad at relationships, good at work is a lazy analysis. It's too neat. It misses the point. The architecture is doing identical structural work in both rooms. It is receiving 2 contradictory sets of orders and executing both faithfully. The gap is not about the domain. It's about the order of operations. And you have been living this and reading it as something else. You know what day that is. You have had it. You held the line where being precise mattered. You said the smart thing. You made the call. And everyone in that room walked out thinking You were sharp. You can still feel the specific, buzzing adrenaline of that win. The I crushed feeling. Then you came home, and someone who knows you was waiting. They asked you something simple about the weekend, about the thing you have been planning to start for weeks, about whether you actually want what you keep saying you want, and you couldn't find the shape of the sentence. You hedged, you denied, you circle around the question and say a bunch of nothing in the answer. It was you on the same day, but one register passed and the other collapsed. You haven't reading this as a fact about who you are. Sharp at work and broken at home, or sharp here and chaotic there. A type, a character trait, maybe a wound. But it is not. You walked into both rooms as the same person. You just walked out convinced you were too. You have likely read this pattern through more than one frame already. The way it keeps surfacing. The way it survives every attempt to handle it. Even when there are good frameworks for what you have been describing. Frameworks the people you trust have probably suggested, and you have likely tried more than one. And they aren't wrong. They are reading the same movements you are reading, but each one is naming an output of the structure rather than the structure itself. Trauma framing reads this cycle as something carried from formative conditions. It sees patterns laid down young and defenses installed in response to environments that demanded them. So that reading is doing real work. The architecture you are operating inside today was shaped by things that happened, by relationships you did not choose, and by the particular cost of growing up where and how you did. But the cycle you are watching now is not a trauma loop replaying. The thing that hurts is not the same operation as the thing that has been keeping you stuck. The wound is upstream, and the pattern is downstream. They are connected, and they are not the same thing. Discipline reads this cycle as a willpower problem or an effort problem. That reading covers the part of the world where sustained execution matters. But discipline operates at the level of the directive. It shows up at the moment you give yourself an order or try to follow one you made before. It has very little to say about what happens inside the building between the order being given and the order being processed. So the cycle you are reading is not about the strength of the order, it is about what catches the order on its way through. Parts work. The two halves frame. The language of inner committee members reads this cycle as multiple selves negotiating for control. After watching the same person hold one register in one room and collapse in another on the same day. That frame is the easiest one to reach for. And it is the easiest one to misread the architecture through. You do contain different movement registers, and those registers belong to one person passing one architecture through two sets of standing orders. The fact that the outputs contradict is structural. It isn't multiple. The question all three of those frames leave on the table is the same question. Why does the pattern keep running after you have named it? And why does understanding what is happening not stop the thing from happening again next week? The thing that has been making the pattern continue is the same thing that made the pattern legible in the first place. The infrastructure underneath you was shaped by decades of One Direction's uncontested operation, and it was perfected to carry that direction's orders fluently. The channels run deep. The chains of command know the language. The desks process the standard directives without friction. None of that resets the moment a new direction arrives. The new directions orders are real, but they have to pass through the same departments that were calibrated to carry something else for a long time before they got here. This is why understanding the pattern doesn't stop the pattern. The groups are worn deep into the floorboards. Seeing the cycle at the structural level and stopping the cycle at the structural level are not the same operation. The architecture continues processing every event the way it learned to process events before any of this was named. What changed when you saw it was your read of the cost. The throughput of the building did not. What the building does with that condition depends on how much ground the new direction has gained. This same architecture produces three different forms of the cycle depending on where you catch it. Early on, when the new direction is fresh and untested, the building doesn't have to do anything crazy to win. It just keeps running. The institutions process all direction orders fluently. They treat new direction orders as foreign, and the difficulty the new direction encounters in getting through gets read by the person at the desk as evidence the new direction was wrong. Most transitions end here. They end with the conviction collapsing back into the read that the old way was right after all, and that the new way was a phase, and that what felt like authorship was overreach. The infrastructure doesn't have to argue against the new direction. It just has to process every order the way it has always processed orders. And the new direction loses by default. But when the new direction survives that initial stretch, when it accumulates enough proof of its own legitimacy that the building cannot simply dismiss it, the pattern changes. The infrastructure stops trying to suppress the new direction and starts allowing the two sets of orders to run side by side. indefinitely. You cycle between them. One day the new direction catches the moment first, and the next day the old one does. Each cycle feels like a fresh attempt because each cycle starts again from inside whichever directive caught the event. The cost of running the new direction shows up every time you have to push the order through institutions that still process the old one fluently. The old direction is self sustaining, and the new direction burns energy with every execution. This is the stage where most stock cycles live. And there is a third condition the architecture can produce, which is the one the cycle doesn't produce on its own. The new direction can recalibrate the infrastructure, domain by domain, institution by institution, slowly enough that the building actually retains the recalibration rather than treating it as an emergency. That outcome exists. It is not what the cycle is doing right now. The cycle doesn't produce it. Something else does. This is why the same architecture can run mastery in one room and collapse in another on the same day. Both outcomes are the same building executing different standing orders. And the order that wins is the one that catches the event first. Two pieces of work outside the framework support the structural read. What Richard Tallard and Robert Sunstein documented in behavioral economics names this the power of default architecture. The institutional defaults of any system, the ones that run when no one is actively choosing, shape behavior more powerfully than any conscious decision the person inside the system makes. Their work is about external system, like retirement plans and cafe layouts. But the mechanism is identical. The defaults win because they do not have to be chosen. Whatever your infrastructure is set to process automatically is what gets processed unless something specifically intervenes at the moment of arrival. And the institutions inside you have been running their defaults longer than the new direction has had access to them. Now, in the realm of neuroscience, Sapolsky documented a piece of why the intervention is harder than it looks. The amygdala responds to a triggering event in roughly 50 to 100 milliseconds. The prefrontal cortex, the part that runs the liberation, takes 500 milliseconds or more to engage. By the time the conscious part of you arrives at the event, the response has already begun executing. The meaning has already been assigned. The action prompt is already on its way through the channels. The directive you finally issue yourself after the moment has passed is not the directive the building was operating from when the event happened. The building was already running. The natural question, sitting with all of this, is what you are supposed to do with the information. The read is a developing skill, not a prerequisite for action. The version of this teaching that fails, the version that converts diagnostic into a new form of stock, is the one where the person on the receiving end decides they need to identify which direction every action prompt is coming from before they are willing to commit to anything. That version of the work is just the old direction running under new vocabulary. The building has just been handed a new reason to delay the new direction's orders indefinitely. The skill develops at the rate the work gets done. And waiting until you can read everything cleanly is the same operation as not starting. The second thing the work has to hold is that not every difficulty you encounter is the building doing this to you. The external conditions you are operating inside are real. Some of the resistance you are meeting is the resistance the world actually exerts when a person tries to do something difficult. The external system works very hard to make people miserable and making things an uphill battle. You really could experience a relationship that is hard for legitimate reasons. A project that demands big sacrifices from you. Or an economy that makes every day a survival quest. The architecture this section is describing is one source of the difficulty you are reading. It is not the only one. Using the structural read to dismiss every external obstacle as institutional execution converts the diagnostic into denial. The work has to hold both at once. What changes when this is internalized is the read of the action prompt. The conditions outside the building keep doing what they were doing. This work is not about altering the world the architecture is operating inside. It is about retrofitting the architecture so that it processes that world with a different signature. And the thing that has to land before anything else can happen is what the cost has been. This cycle is not a verdict on your character. It is the formula for work most people never start. You have been carrying a new direction through a system shaped by an old one. And you have been paying, in real cost, real repetition, for the work of trying to make it land. That cost is what authorship looks like before the infrastructure catches up. Your suffering hasn't been failure, it's been integrity. And Carmy paid the cost in front of everyone.
Claire's on 31. Okay. Go say hi.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually.
Where the fuck is Josh?
No, just go.
Yo, I'll go in a half a minute. I'm in the fucking shit. Leave me the fuck alone.
I'm
I'll
saying-
get there when I can get there.
I'm
What?
saying, just
Service has barely started. This night is very important. The cost of the restaurant failing is high, and Carmy knows it very well. Claire is sitting outside, and Richie is offering him one move, a single moment of presence with his girlfriend. He refuses. The kitchen starts coming apart. There are not enough forks. Each member of the kitchen is falling under the stress. The walk-in freezer door that the team has been flagging for days is still broken. Carmy is feeling failure close. The old direction has been running its case in his head all night. Clara should not be here. This is what happens when you let someone in. The focus is gone. All of this is your fault. And the new direction is still alive somewhere underneath. Go to her table. You committed to this. Just say hi. What you have with her is nice. The two directions are pulling the same attention toward opposite horizons, and what they are consuming in the process is the focus he needs to make the opening night a success. He walks into the walk-in to grab something off a shelf. The door closes behind him. The latch fails, and he is locked inside. Inside the walk-in, Carmy starts screaming and banging on the door, and he does it for several minutes. Outside, Richie and Sydney, with no other option, take charge of the whole kitchen. They split responsibilities. The plates start moving, and within minutes the team has railed around the void he left and re-stabilized the service without him. If you have worked in a kitchen, I did years ago, you know screams are not unusual at all. Screams are how kitchens communicate. So what qualifies as a disruption are not the screams, but the noise that doesn't say anything. Carmy banging on a door with no message other than fog is breaking the rhythm of the kitchen. The high-functioning domain, the one he claims to be defending above everything else, is being slowed down by him and his inability to shut up and let the ones who can actually do something do it. That is the asymmetric edge at its breaking point, sharp in the kitchen, broken in every other room. The read everyone has been running on him and why they admire him and tolerate him, it's gone for a brief moment. The service ends. The customers are leaving happy, and the team starts to relax. But Carmy is still locked in. Tina comes to the door and talks to him through it, asking him what happened. He starts explaining that he failed them, that he got distracted, that he doesn't know the state of his own kitchen anymore, that the labels are wrong, that he doesn't remember the name of the guy that was supposed to fix the door, and he doesn't know if he should be doing this at all. Sydney needs Tina and calls her over, so Tina leaves. Carmy keeps talking. He doesn't even notice she is gone, because at the end of the day, he is talking to himself. He doesn't need anyone present. Its whole direction is validating itself in his own voice, completing the case for its own existence, regardless of whether anybody is on the other side of the door. He says he had no business being in a relationship, that he could focus before, that he had a routine and didn't need any of this, and that he doesn't need to provide enjoyment or receive any of it. He says he is completely fine with that. Then he delivers 2 lines.
I wasn't here. Right? What the fuck was I thinking? Like I was gonna be in a relationship? I'm a fucking psycho. That's why I'm good at what I do. That's how I operate. I am the best because I didn't have any of this fucking bullshit.
The old direction has just claimed credit for capacity with full conviction. His talent and capacity is the reward he gets for being a psycho. He continues.
Receive any amusement or enjoyment. I'm completely fine with that. Because no amount of good is worth how terrible this feels.
He takes everything that came from the new direction, the mornings with Claire, the moment he brought her into the restaurant, and place it on one side of the scale, and takes how the body feels right now, locked inside a walk-in, alone, failed as a leader, and place it on the other side. To him, that balance isn't worth it. This is the architecture issuing a verdict on the only evidence it will accept. The new direction never gets to make its case because the outcome was never in question. When he says he wasn't here, he means Claire. When he says he got distracted, he means the relationship. But the reality is different. He was not here because the architecture was splitting his attention between two mandates. And the old one was consuming focus defending its case all the time. The thing that failed in the kitchen was not caused by Claire's presence. It was caused by the dual mandate operating at full pressure with no resolution. Then we know Claire was standing there the whole time.
It's just a complete waste of fucking time.
I'm really sorry you feel that way, Carm.
Claire?
Claire leaves totally devastated. Richie sees her and realizes that Carmy said something to her. So he comes to the door and says,
Richie, what? What the fuck did you just say to that girl, Carmen?
You shut the fuck up and get me the fuck out of here, please!
Oh yeah, I'll get you the fuck out of there, Donna.
What the fuck did you just say? What the fuck did you just say?
Nothing.
Richie, what the fuck did you say?
Richie names the inherited architecture in a single word. The one that ran his mother's life and the one that has been running Carmy's. He puts the right name on what just happened. He keeps going.
Yo, cousin, I don't understand why you can't just let something good happen for once in your fucking
Are you
life. What the
fucking
fuck
kidding
is
me
matter
right
with
now? Are you fucking kidding me?
you? No, I'm not fucking kidding you right now.
That is the diagnostic question. The one everyone has wondered and attributed to his trauma, which is in fact a factor, but not the specific mechanism this video is teaching. After some more screaming between them, Richie leaves. Carmy sits down inside the walk-in and opens his phone. There is a voicemail from Claire, sent earlier in the day, before any of this happened. He plays it.
And I think you're, so special and, so wonderful. And I'm so proud of you. And Mikey would be so proud of you, Bear. I really love you.
Towards the end, his hands start shaking. On "I really love you," the phone slips out of his fingers and hits the floor. His hands go to his face. The body has registered what the system spent episodes denying. The new direction was real. It was reciprocated. and it was alive at the same moment his old one was gaining control. Sadly, we all have experienced some version of this. It was the day where both directions were running at full pressure inside you. You had something good in motion, and you also had the old reading active in the background, ruling its case against the good thing while you weren't watching. And under the stress, the focus split, and the attention you needed went into the wrong room. You missed something obvious. You forgot a name, a step, something you would have caught in any other state. You watched the high functioning version of yourself disappear, and you stood there confused about why. Then you put the wrong name on what just happened. You blame everything and everyone for it. You stated inside your own head with full conviction, in a voice that sounded exactly like yours. Hours later, you realize that all of that was bullshit. You feel it in your body because one thing is true. The body always knows first. And what the body knew before you did was the real cost. So what changes when the read changes? You need to understand that the cycle doesn't stop. Recognition doesn't redesign the architecture. What changes is what the cycle gets rid of. But the cost you have been carrying, the one the body registered before the mind could name it, has been landing as evidence about who you are. The conviction reversal you watched run through Carmy's walk-in and recognized in your own life has been registering as proof that you cannot hold a direction, that you don't want the thing you committed to, and that something in you fails at a level effort and discipline cannot reach. And this specific read is a fundamental misdiagnosis. The cycle is real, the pattern is real, and also the cost is real. And the name you have been putting on the cost has been wrong. And the operation that opens here is a change in what the cycle produces when it runs, while the cycle itself keeps its shape. Every pull toward a behavior carries a signature, information about which set of orders generated it and which direction it serves. The pull that moves through the old channels, running along infrastructure built for it across decades of uncontested practice with nothing competing against it, arrives with a specific feel. It feels effortless, obvious, like the default setting of the room you are standing in. But the pull that moves through new territory, the direction you created, the commitment you meant, the fragile change you are trying to make land next week, arrives carrying weight, because the channels it is passing through were not built for it yet. And every step through unfamiliar infrastructure demands more than the same step through familiar ground. Those two signatures are different enough to tell apart the moment you know what to look for. And this read closes the asymmetric domain question along with everything else. The same architecture that ran mastery in one room and collapsed in the next is doing identical structural work in both. And the asymmetry between the two rooms is the asymmetry of which signature has the speed advantage where the same building runs different orders at different speeds across different rooms. And what you haven't reading as sharp here, broken there, is the readout of which mandate codes each desk first. So the operation is the read itself. The next time the conviction reversal fires. The next time you feel yourself undoing the thing you committed to. Carrying the same total certainty the commitment carried. You hold the moment long enough to ask one question. Which mandate generated this pool? The question is structural. It replaces every version of the verdict you have been issuing every time the cycle completes. Every self-sabotage narrative. Every conclusion that turned a purely mechanical condition into an indictment of your character. Name the signature, not the verdict. That single phrase is the compressed version of the entire breakdown. In the walk-in, Carmy's system issued a verdict. I'm a fucking psycho. That's why I'm good at what I do. And that verdict carried full conviction because it arrived through his own voice, inside his own head, authored by an architecture that had been producing those exact conclusions for longer than the new direction had been alive. But the signature was readable the entire time. The old direction caught the stress of opening night first, ran its case through the infrastructure it built, consumed the focus the kitchen needed, and arrived at a conclusion that sounded like self-knowledge, but was in fact a structural output. His whole verdict was wrong. This signature told the whole story, and the distance between reading the verdict and reading the signature is the entire shift. Now, the read develops as a skill, not as a single moment of insight. It starts slow, arriving long after the cycle has already completed, reconstructing in retrospect which set of orders won the moment and what carried it. With practice, the read moves closer to the pool itself, arriving alongside the conviction rather than after it, giving you a brief window to identify the source before the action executes rather than assembling the wreckage in the aftermath. The condition of anomie, the mismatch between new conviction and old infrastructure, doesn't dissolve because you can name it. Both directions remain active, and the two of them continue catching events before the other can. What the read changes is the cost. The cycle keeps running, and the cost stops being self-blame. What the read makes possible the progressive recalibration of the infrastructure itself, domain by domain. So the channels that still carry the old directions orders begin carrying the new ones. Is the work that lives downstream of the diagnostic. The handle gives you the read. What the read enables is a precision that this specific axiom opens but doesn't walk through. And that work earns its own time. What you should expect the first time you try to hold this read. The architecture will run the same move on the reading itself, putting a wrong name on the practice, the way it put a wrong name on the goals. That same move running one level up is the condition confirming the read is structural. It is not evidence that you failed. What you have been carrying as proof that something in you is broken is a structural condition with a readable signature, and the cost that has been compounding as self-blame is the tax of a misdiagnosis that ended the moment the read became yours. The verdict was never accurate. The signature was always there, and the read is yours now. This is one axiom inside a system. 75 axioms, each one a specific layer of the machinery. This video taught the read how to identify which set of orders code a given moment and what signature the pool carries. What it didn't touch is the question one step behind it. Where does the new direction come from? How does someone afford a commitment that carries enough weight to run through the same infrastructure the old one built, and hold its ground long enough for the read to matter? That question has its own answer, and it is in the Fleabag video, the axiom that teaches how a direction gets authored in the first place. It is in the description and appearing on your screen. If this explains something, subscribe and like the video. Thanks for watching.